and practice and embody in their mind, body, and speech. This other term we see and we'll hear throughout the film is Geshe-Ma. And this is a recent term and a recent occurrence that just started. I believe you guys all started in 2012, or it was recognized by His Holiness the Dalai Lama that these exams for women would be conferred. And in 2016, we're sitting with two of the first Geshe-Mas. But this term itself, Ge means virtue, and She means to know. So the one who knows virtue, right? So we have these very venerable teachers that are going to give us more background about this, but that's the basic definitions here. And then this last term is Gelong or Gelongma. And this is another honorific term for someone who has received their full vows. And so there's different levels of vows, and starting from the Getsul to the Gelopma to the Gelongma, and it's just different levels of vows that people can receive. I came into this topic because I had spent a fair amount of time in India and always found inspiration in the venerable Tsunmas that I encountered and met and studied with. And as I was reading more and hearing more about this question of what it means to ordain, or this question of whether Tibetan nuns would take their full vows, currently a practice that's not available by the Vinaya tradition that was adopted in 8th century Tibet. I didn't see or hear a lot of those women's experiences or their stories about how they narrated Tibetan history and ordinations in Tibet. And so I wanted to hear those stories. And so I spent a year in India living with my family and doing field work across the Himalayas. So I had a chance to go to nunneries in Ladakh and Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. And then I spent a lot of time at Bodh Gaya, the seat of the Buddha's enlightenment, meeting and speaking with different Geshe-Mas and different Tsunmas about their own life stories. So now I'll turn it over to them so that we can hear those actual stories. And I don't remember who is going first here, but so Venerables, thank you. And looking forward to hear your stories and your experiences and the ways that you share yourselves with all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Thank you. That's a very, good start, orienting us. And so let us hear the stories from our Geshe-Mas first, maybe. So may we invite Geshe-Ma, Chopa Lhadron, maybe to share with us your story of how you became a Geshe-Ma and what it means to you to become a Geshe-Ma.
Okay. So good morning, good evening for everyone. Once again, and I would like to say once again, Happy Diwali. And then also Happy Children's Day, Universal Children's Day. So in a way, we are all children, I feel, even though we are grown up, but our minds still remain children. So let me just start with how I came to interest to get this Geshe-Ma degree. I'm sorry, you could hear a lot of firecracker. Can you hear? I can't do anything for that, okay? And I turned on my heater today, but the firecracker is still going on there.
I hope you are not getting cold. It's cold up here, right, in Dharamsala.
It's okay. But anyway, right, so let me just start just brief kind of a story, my childhood, and then how I actually became a nun, and now when and why I came to Dharmasala. It's kind of a long story, but I'll try to make it kind of short, okay? So I was born in Zanskar in the region of Ladakh, far away in the Himalaya. And from the age of 7 or 8, I was supposed to become a nun because my parents would wish to have one or two of their children sent to the monastery or nunneries to join as a monastics, because I have a lot of siblings. We are 8 together, 6 girls and 2 boys in the family. So I was supposed to become a nun since at the age of 7 or 8, I can't remember exactly. And then since then, my dad and grandpa, and there were some other older nuns who started to teach me how to read the scripture, like starting with it's in Ladakh, in the whole Himalaya. When you're talking about Himalaya here, so I would say when you're saying Himalaya, I meant the Indian Himalaya, okay? It's because Himalaya is kind of huge, right? Himalaya, like in Bhutan, Nepal, Tibet, also on the other side of the Himalaya. So I meant the Indian Himalaya, and particularly Ladakh. In our region, we have really rich kind of culture in the past. So, when, we have long winter, like 6-7 months. And during the winter, even though whether the children, whether they are going to join the monastery or not, we try everyone to teach how to read the Buddha's teaching scripture, starting with, you call it like a Dojit Chopa, it's like the Vajragatra Sutra. And that's actually, it's kind of our textbooks. So we have to, learn how to read them. And then we memorize a lot of prayers, like prayers to the Manjur Shri and reciting mantra, Avargadashara mantra, Tara mantra, all this, especially during the winter time, is we have so long winter, and then, we have animals looked after them, but otherwise we do a lot of them. So I started to learn how to read this from the age of 7. And then when the age of 13, according to the Western calendar, and according to Tibetan calendar, is at the age of 14. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama actually invited to Ladakh in my region. It's actually 20 to 30-minute walking distance from my village. So he gave a Kala Chakra initiation in Zanskar for the first time. I think the second time in Ladakh. So that last day of the teaching, and His Holiness actually encouraged for, there were a lot of monks who are already in South India studying philosophy at the Tibetan monastery community, like in Mongo and Balakopi. And there are a few nuns also in Dharmasala, but the study program just starting, I think. And he noticed that this, the education for the nuns is important. And it was actually just starting in Tibetan community in exile. So he actually, His Holiness the Dalai Lama encouraged, publicly actually mentioned, if any nuns who are willing to go to Dharamsala or South India, so in the Tibetan monastery, like a nunnery, and maybe those nuns should, try to go there to study. So that's one was the oldest nuns told me, and my parents arranged me to send to Dharamsala with the Namja monks and some of the security guy from His Holiness the Dalai Lama himself. So we travel in their bus together from Zanskar to Srinagar. And then when we arrived in Srinagar, so they wanted to have a 2 or 3 days kind of a holiday in Srinagar, because in the summer, that was in the month of August or September, it's beautiful time. So they wanted to stay there, and we came earlier. We came up to Srinagar together, and after that, me and another older nun and a few Tibetan from Dharmasala who came to cultural initiation in Zanskar. So we came to Dharmasala, and at that time, there was only Gandanchili nunnery. In Dharmasala area, we have now 5-6 nunneries. When I came, there were no nunnery, only Gandanchili was the only one, and they have really small, like a living cottage, like living rooms, and the prayer hall is also really small and kind of old. And then we noticed that, one of the senior nun knew that Gamaleshe Somu, the founder of the nunnery in Jamyang Institute. So she was studying at the Institute of Buddhist Dialectic School at that time. And then one of the senior nun that heard that she, Venerable Geshima have a plan to start a nunnery or the institute where the nuns can come and study. So I was happened to take me to see Geshema. there was some time in the rainy season, August, toward the end of August. So I met her, and I was really young from village, and she was really happy. Okay, I was actually the third person, and Venerable Deden and Samu were there. And that time we don't have proper nanny, but there were a few rooms, just rented. In Malaysia, have rented bedrooms, and she was staying there and go to the the IBD to study, and sometimes I think she was attending classes at the Tibetan library as well. So that was in 1988. And then 1989, our full kind of steady start. And Malaysia actually requested to one of our, like a few of our teachers from the IBD. And then she also sent a kind of application to His Holiness office, Namgyal Monastery, requesting, could you please teach the nuns? So because 3 of us came, and there's another nuns came, and then toward the end of September, another 2 nuns from Ladakh arrived. So at the end, we came like 16 altogether in 1989. So it's kind of enough size in starting philosophy class. So she, requested all our teachers to teach us, and the teachers were accepted really happily. They were really, really happy to teach us. So since 1989 until like 2007-8, we were full-time like a student. At the same time, Malaysia actually encouraged us to run the nunnery yourself, do some volunteer work, so you can build up yourself like a full kind of complete human being. While you're educating, at the same time, if you do like running the nunnery, looking after the younger nuns, junior nuns, and respect for the teacher, you just did everything together. And we finished like, when we do this study, okay, now 1989 to 2007, what kind of, study subject you need to cover? There are 5 major Buddhist philosophical texts that known. Okay, so I'll just give you the 5. The first one is Perfection Wisdom, Prajna Paramita. So which is, the original teaching, the Buddha teaching, who Buddha have given this teaching in Vulture Peak in Bodh Gaya. So which have, there are vast one, middle one, and I don't know, the short version. Okay, the vast, extensive version, which has 100,000 verses. And then the middle one have 20,000 verses. And then the very short version have 8,000 version because of verses, okay? So, and that's the Buddha's teaching. And then the commentary that the written of the whole Prajna Paramita, sutra, the commentary that written by Maitreya Buddha. Have you heard that? Maitreya Buddha, of course, right? Maitreya Buddha means like the future Buddha, the Buddha of loving kindness. So he have written that the root text, which is we call it the clear realization of the path, I think, in translation. So that's the root text. And then we study, there are commentaries written by Indian master, like such as Haribhadra, but like a Haribhadra, and then, out of these 17 Nalanda masters, each or like there are few of them, they're like a very expert for Prajna Paramita, commentator. Some are really expert for the the logic or the Pramana Vartika. Some are very expert for the Abhidharma, and some are very expert for the Vinaya. So we use that root text, like the Maitreya Buddha, the root text, and then the commentaries of Haribhadra, and then we have a commentary of Tibetan masters like such as Lama Tsongkhapa and Lama Tsongkhapa and 2 of his main disciples, Gyaltsab Rinpoche and Khyentse Rinpoche. And then each monastery, like, according to the Gelugpa tradition or the Gelugpa Learning Center, there are 3 main kind of monasteries, Sera, Debu, and Garden. So we have adopted the similar, study curriculum, thanks to His Holiness and many of our friends who have encouraged, push everyone to set, put the study program and curriculum and everything for the nuns. So then there's about teachers and many volunteers and supporters. They help us to put all the curriculum together. 6-year Prajna Paramita Sutra study program, which is equivalent to like a bachelor in Buddhist philosophy. And then the 3 years be like a what do we call it, Madhyamika, the middle way. So which was the root text written by Kirti, and then it has a commentary similar again, on the Indian master, and then the Tibetan master, and then Pramanavartika, which was the root text was written by Dharmakirti, Dignaka. There are 3-4 main master who are really expert, and then Vinaya, which according to the Vinaya, when talking of Vinaya, it's like a monastic discipline, right? So in the Tibetan or the Himalayan tradition region, the Vinaya tradition or the Vinaya practices according to the Mula Sarvasiddhavada tradition. And as well, I know this, like there are 3 living traditions still exist in this world. And when you're talking about the 4 tenets in system in Buddhism. Look at the first tenets, which is, like there are 2 tenets, we call it like considered to be lower tenets, and there are 2 tenets which are considered to be upper tenets. But then there are like 18 different sub-schools among that. 18, that was in ancient India, which exists. But then, Buddha Dharma came to India like 2,500 in more than like nearly 600 years now. And then we have many of the learning center, Nalanda Master, Dika Malaysia, all this, holy site that we can see now. And then at the same time, there were great nuns as well in India, but then because some time, degeneration, whatever happened, I don't know the real, every detailed kind of histories there, but the Mula Sarvasiddhavada tradition, which goes to Shantarakshita, the Vinaya master is the man, Shantarakshita, and then the text that we use for the Jetsunma, we call it the Jetsunma, okay? Some people translate that it's like a novice, male and female, we have that. And for the Mula Sarvasiddhavada tradition, we have only the Geshe-Ma tradition, like vowels available. And the text that we study is actually, it's written by, out of the 17 Nalanda master, there are 2 of them are expert about the Vinaya, Shakyaprabha and Gunaprabha. So Shakyaprabha have written like a root text, which is actually the most kind of essential things that exist in there. It's more kind of the practice, the essence, what practice you need to do. And then when you come to the Vinaya, there are a lot of stories, there are a lot of, I don't know, a lot of stories are there. And of course, stories are really good for us to learn. But then, when it comes to the practice itself, the Shakyaprabha have written this called, in Tibetan, Dulva Sumgyapa, which is like a 300 verses Vinaya text. And it has auto commentary within. So this is the text we use for 2 years. We study for that, and we have to memorize the root text. This is the root text that I have actually in my, my table. And this root text, actually the main kind of root text, even for the monastic education, like the Sera Devongandan, they used actually differ too. I mean, they have longer version there too, but this is the really essence actually. So this is what we study. So altogether we have, let's see, 6-year Prajna Paramita course, which is equivalent to bachelor, and then 3 years on Madhyamika, middle way, which is equivalent to master in philosophy, and then 2 years on the Abhidharma, Buddhist epistemology, we call it, Buddhist world system, and 2 years of that, which is a kind of double master or MPhil, and then another 2 years on Vinaya, another double sort of master, and then Pramana Vartika, we study while, the 6 year and the 3 year, 9 years while we are doing this study, and out of 10 months in each year, we have 2 months actually study the Pramana Vartika during the, that's the time of when we do the, the annual nuns debate, which was actually initiated by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and many other teachers in 1995, the first time. So then, since then, we are actually having 1 month non-inter kind of a debate session. So where we study the Pramana Vartika, which have 4 chapters. Out of 4, actually, the first 2 chapters are very important. So the root text is written by Dharmakirti, and that, which is a commentary of the Dignakas, Pramana Samuchaya, and the Pramana Vartika, and then we have a commentary written by another Indian master, and then also Tibetan masters. So altogether, we have like more than 70 years. The minimum requirement for enter into the Geshe-Ma examination is 17 years course. And each year you have to have examination, each individual nunneries. And I know that there are 5-6 nunneries who are participating for the Geshe-Ma examination, so which was started in 2013. So that's how this is the study that we do. These are more kind of, I was just giving the names of the author and then the text, and that which go to the Buddhas and the Buddha masters. And masters, like a male and female, they are, right now we have Geshimas who are teaching as well. So I don't know, how can we say master or masters? I don't know. Male teachers, female teachers, we all have that. So these are the teaching, the study textbooks that we use. But the main thing I wish to say is like, study intellectually is very important, but at the same time, we have to practice, So we never finish study. We never finish practice until we get fully enlightened. So all these texts, all these teachings actually teach lots of kind of method, lots of skills, how to you become a good person, how do you rid of all this mental kind of negativities and defilements, we called it, like attachment, aversion, ignorance, all this. And we have to, like Abhidharma, one of the chapter actually teach very details about identification of the different mental defilements and how can you really recognize them as, like a negative or a defilement and why it's coming up and how can you really, then you use the Pramana Vartika logic. Okay, is there any antidote to rid of these negativities or not? Yes. And then we have to use a lot of our mind or brain. Sometimes people use, but I don't know, brain is a piece of meat anyway. I'm sorry. But mainly we, of course, it has a lot of, but we have to use a lot of reason and logic, and then, you need to memorize a lot of text. And then why we memorize it, if you memorize the root text or the short version of each text, it's very easy to remember. And if you want to do meditate, and, of course, if you just cross your leg and close eye in a proper meditation, which really help too. But, you can meditate, you can think, you can, give thought wherever you are, even in the bathroom, walking, cooking, everywhere. So that's how we really, build up our memory skills. Memorizing is really good to, build up a memory skills. And then, all these 5 texts, these are like huge, you can fill up like a library. So there's no way that you could read everything, like, once in a year, if you could read and remember would be good, but otherwise, no. But, the root text and then the outline, if you memorize the root text and outline, it will be really helpful for us to memorize all this year's studies, and then how to practice, how to really put into practice and be happy and be peaceful person. That's the whole thing. I think I summarized what we are doing. And so you want to hear something else? I'm not sure. Let me see if I have any other thing. I think I've done that. Oh, okay, let me just give you just about the Geshema examination then.
Thank you, Geshema. You have done another Geshema exam, I feel.
No, the 17 years is individual nunnery study. And then after that, we have to revise all over again and then sit into the Geshema examination for 4 years. The same, most are same text. And we have to memorize again, and then we have to give examination in 4 years. And then while you're doing the philosophical study, and we also
no debate. You win already.
And we have
you surely have done a lot more studies than I have done for my PhD degree.
Well,
really,
probably similar. It's a different fields, I guess.
Well, yeah. Well, it's a different system, but surely I can see how much.
Exactly.
You really have to focus on your study. But I really agree with what you said. It's at the end of the day, it's the practice, right? It's how you apply all these studies.
Yeah.
So thank you for your sharing.
Yeah, okay, I think I'll stop here. Thank you. And then Geshema, Tenzin, Deden will share a little more. We have similar kind of story.
Yes. Yeah. So let us now hear from Venerable Geshima Tenzin Deden, about her stories. Geshema.
Okay, good evening and good morning, all of you. Now I would like to share my story. I was born in Kinnaur, Himachal Pradesh. I grew up there and I went to school there. Then, age of 17, I joined the texturing nunnery in our village. Then my nun teacher, she teaches how to read the text and memorizing different kind of prayers and mantras. I can only read and memorizing this text. But I don't know about the meaning of the text. Then we stay winter in the nunnery. In the summer, our villager requires us to puja for their home, and we do the prayer for them. Then in 1985, I went to the Bodh Gaya, received the Kalachakra teaching, His Holiness Dalai Lama. After that, I ordained by His Holiness Dalai Lama in the Kalachakra, after Kalachakra teaching in the Bodh Gaya. Then at that time, I have difficult for understand to his teaching because of the language problem. I don't know the Tibetan language because my language is very different language for the Tibetan language. My mother tongue is Kinori. Then after that, I returned back to my home. Then I think I must go somewhere to study and learn the Tibetan language. Otherwise, it's difficult to understand His Holiness teaching. Therefore, I asked my parents, I want to go outside of the village for study and learn Tibetan language. First, I tried to go in the central school of in Ladakh. This is run by the Indian government. Then I asked my parents, they didn't allow to go there because it is too far. At that time, we are traveling by road. It takes a long time. It is very rare flight in Leh to Delhi or Chandigarh. Here they are afraid it is too far. You can't go there. Then I try to come to Dharamsala. I have my mother cousin is nun at the Choling nunnery. I request her, please look place for me to learn Tibetan language and study. Then she told me there is no enough space for Choling nunnery for new nun. Then she asked Venerable Geshema. Then Venerable Gesima accepted me and my friend. Two of us came to Dharamsala. Then at the beginning, we have she rented a few old building in the forest in the McLaughlin nearby the Hotel Baksu. Then at that time, she arranged a language teacher from IVD. Then we have language class and we can memorize the text. Then after a few months, Lhadron came and Lhadron other friend came. Then we are 4 of us. Then we have also English class here in the Jamyang Choling. Then in 1989, more than came. Then we have the philosophy that provide us the philosophy teacher for Namgyal Monastery and IBD. At that time, we start the Buddhist primary philosophy and debate. Then also we have the evening and morning prayer. We do meditation in the evening. Morning 20 minutes, and the evening prayer we do Dharmasala. Then we go to class. We start the collective story we call Vida, and the awareness and the knowledge we call Lorik. First year. Second year we study for the reason and the reason, sign and the reason, and then Tarik and the Dukta. At the first time I am very difficult also that time, because my language is very different from Tibetan language. Then it is very difficult for me to understand, and this in a few months I get these difficulties, but our teacher gives often the advice. It is beginning of it is little bit difficult. You can use it and it will become easier. Then I believe my teacher advice, and I go continue. Then after we start the Pranjana Paramita, Professor of Wisdom, it already mentioned about our curriculum. Then we study that. After we finish the Pranjana Paramita, Professor of Wisdom, then I go teaching this teaching. When go receive the teaching, it is I can more understanding, not like before. Therefore, I think I must continue to study this philosophy. Then also my parents, when will you come back? Please come back. Then I say, please wait. After 6 years, I will come back. Then after that, I couldn't stop it. I have even this is very difficult for me, very difficult and understand, and also difficult. This because this is very deep. But I couldn't stop it for myself. People of our teacher have special method to give the special kind of the advice. It is bring to student is more interest in the Buddhist philosophy. This helped me a lot. Then most of this subject Lhadron already mentioned. This is similar for Lhadron also. Then we continue to study. Then I continue to study for 5 major texts, English and Tibetan grammar, also other things. Then in the we also same time I have the different kind of role at the nunnery, such as helping food supply, cashier, and the disciplinary or extra. Yeah. Also, we have worked on the management team for 3 years. We have turned every 3 years with the senior nunnery. Senior nuns can take the responsibility of the nunnery. Then I continue to study. Also, that we have 1995, we have the nun debate concept. Then His Holiness with the advice. We have private audience with the His Holiness Dalai Lama. He gives the advice for you go to study, continue for 5 major texts. It is difficult for individual and also who are organized for this study. Then you will go and do continuity equal to monk. What monk study this for 5 major texts, you can do similar for monk. Then I decide I must be continue to study this for my 5 major texts as much as possible for myself. Then I do continue my work hard. Then I complete for 5 major texts in the 17th year for our Choling nunnery for long processing the 5 major texts. Then after that we have chance to in 2012 there is decided by for Geshema or ready to have Geshema growth for 4 years. Then I can think and I decide maybe I can I can take this Geshema approach. I can try as much as possible. It is complete or 4 year, no, or 1 year, 2 year, how much I can. Then I decided to take the Geshema examination. Then we have the 9 subjects in the every year for we have 9 subjects. We have 9 subjects for exam in every year. And also we have 3 oral exam and 6 written exam, mainly 5 major texts in the Buddhist philosophy. This first year we have the ornament of the essence of the commentary of the Gyaltsab Dharma Rinchen. We have Namchen Nigang, first part to third part. Then also we have root test the Netriyas, Abhisamaya Alankara, Modogian, also had Haribhadra's clear meaning of the commentary, they were to say. Then also we have middle way in the Uma, Lama Tonga birth test, Uma Kombarafse, we have the gender prithvi test, Uma this Madhyamika, then also we have the auto commentary of this Madhyamika. Then we have the Brahmana valid cognition for first chapter, then also root test of the Dharma Kirtis, and also auto commentary. Then we have the Tibetan grammar, the Sumjupa, we call Sumjupa, and also His Holiness biography, My Land and My People. Also we have the modern science for the evolution of theory. It is very difficult for me. This I didn't have chance to study this modern science before. This is a very new term for me. Then I can try my best to continue the second year also similar in some for Madhyamika, professional wisdom, valid cognition. Then the second year we have the science on the gene and cell, the biology. Then third year we have the valid cognition. Also we have the Abhidharma Kosha, first to fourth chapter. Then we have Vinaya, this Shakya Prava and Guna Pravas. Root test is Shakya Pravas and Guna, this commentary is Guna Pravas text, Devahote. Then we have the also religious history on the this Nima and the Kargi religious history in the exam. Then we have the science on the neuroscience we have third year. Then also poetry. The fourth year we have the half of the Vinaya and the half of the Abhidharma Kosha. Then we have the valid cognition, third and fourth chapter. Then also we have at that time we have the religious history for this Gelupa and the Sakya and also Bon religion. We have 3 of their history. Then at the end we have write the thesis for 50 pages. This is our all 4 years the Geshema process for exam. Then we all successfully complete it. This is all of my experience and my story.
Wow, amazing how one thing leads to another, right? Throughout the years, all the studies, thank you for sharing, Geshema. And where Geshema Tenzin Deden is sitting is actually, Jamyang Choling Institute, where two of the Geshema exams took place right there. And as mentioned by, Geshema Chopa Lhadron, Jamyang Choling was established by Venerable Geshima, who's an American, okay? She's currently a professor at the University of San Diego. Maybe one day we can invite her to talk stories too. Actually, in the movie, up in the Himalaya in Spiti, Yenchen Choling that we saw was also established by Venerable Geshima, an American nun. And we have an American nun here, Venerable Tenzin Dasel. It's your turn to tell us why you have gone all the way to India to become a Buddhist nun. So, Venerable. You are muted, Venerable. You need to unmute.
Hello and good evening from India, and good morning to people who are in mourning and to all the people who are joining. Nice to see everybody. Well, you know, I don't really want to talk too much about coming all the way to India. I'll just say this. In 2002, I met a wonderful being in Maine, USA, and he was just glowing and happy and full of love and light and wisdom. And I just decided, second time I met him, I wanted to know what he knew. I wanted to learn what he had to offer. And so serendipitously, we met again in Maine, when I was studying for my graduate work, doing my master's degree. And, you know, I wasn't that interested at the time in Buddhism per se. I was studying comparative religions. I was interested more in how people bring a sense of the sacred into their life, maybe kind of like a secular practice of the sacred, because in the USA, traditional religions had been falling away. Most people were brought up as Christians there, but we have a big Jewish population and now a big Muslim population. And a lot of people were really not looking for organized religions, but they were looking for a sense of the sacred. And for myself, I always needed a sense of rationality. If people were teaching me anything, I would always ask why or why not, or who said so. And as far as the religions were concerned, I thought, well, where are all the women? You know, so I wasn't that much even interested in Buddhism, because I felt, you know, you don't see too many nuns around, and what do they do for the women? And, you know, what if you join something and you end up being just co-opted by the boys? So I was a little bit skeptical. But my teacher who I met, who's from Ladakh, was very fun, loving, very gentle and kind and patient, and said, you know, don't join anything right away. That's a good intuition. You should examine everything first. That's even what our texts say in the Tibetan tradition. You know, you should, you know, once I was driving with him on a long trip, he was a guest speaker in one of my graduate classes, and the thought came into me. It was only the second time I had met him, third time I had met him. I just turned and looked at him in the back seat of a car, and I said, how does one know if they've met a spiritual master? And he kind of giggled and said, oh, yes, that's a great question. He said, I can't speak for all the traditions, but in our tradition, it says the student should find the teacher. The teacher should never be looking for the students. And if the student thinks they found their teacher, they should observe him or her for up to 12 years. So I was sitting in the back of the seat and I looked out the window and I thought, why am I asking him this question? Then I did the math. I was about 35 or 36 at the time. And I thought 12 years, in 12 years, I'll be 48. Geez, that's really old. I didn't say a thing to him. But then I turned and looked at him and he said, well, in your case, maybe observe for 7 or 8 years. I never said to him with any of these thoughts. And I thought, well, he just plucked that right out of my mind. So he must really know what he's talking about. He said, look, you just, you know, if you like the teachings, you should read them, see if they benefit you, check 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Is your life feeling like you're getting improvements? Are you interested? Are you feeling like some good inner transformations happening? Then you can decide, you know, if you're ready, you can still come into the teachings, you can still come and volunteer. I had said to him, I'd love to volunteer at your school in Ladakh. And he said, oh, yes, you will. And I thought, how's that going to happen? I'm a, you know, broke graduate student, had just started an organic farm. I thought there's no way I'm getting to India. But lo and behold, within 2 years, I had gotten a scholarship and was up in India. I was doing an independent study around India of comparative religions, but I ended up for a month up at a school in Ladakh volunteering. And when 9/11 had happened in Hawaii, I was teaching 6th grade, and I really just had no idea how to try to talk to these young children who were 12 and 13 about what had happened far away on the mainland. They had never seen a high-rise skyscraper, to let them know this really happened. People flew planes into these buildings. And I had practiced meditation for quite a while. So I just decided to teach them very simple breath meditation. And they really liked it. And so I had started teaching that in the school in Hawaii, in the public school, for that year. And then the teachers noticed that the students had really benefited. And they said, what are you doing with the students? I said, we're just doing 5 minutes of meditation, and they're really liking it. They're doing it on their own when they want to do it. So I had asked my teacher when I met him, do you teach meditation to your students up at your school in Ladakh? Because it's a Buddhist, so it's a modern school, but they're preserving the Tibetan Buddhist culture and traditions. He said, no, but it's a really good idea. You should come and teach them. And I was like, yeah, what? I'm just this homey white girl from America. What do you mean I'm going to come and teach them? He said, no, you've been teaching the children. It's a good idea. You should come. So I came, and that's where I started really getting more contact with the Tibetan Buddhist culture. My plane couldn't land that first trip in 2005. So I ended up meeting a Tulku and his sister at the airport, and we went up to Manjukatila, and within 2 days, His Holiness arrived. I mean, just all these kinds of wonderful karmic things were happening. And I had no plans to become a monastic. I have to be completely honest and forthright about that. This was, like I said, I was in my mid-30s. I'm an American. I traveled around the world. I had a career. I was working on my master's degree at an organic farm. But I liked Buddhism a lot. And I liked the idea that I could really make a connection with this wisdom tradition that had really been so preserved so carefully, especially by the Tibetans. The more I started to study the philosophy and the history of the Nalanda tradition, I was really grateful. And the way I started to see the Buddha in particular started to transform and evolve. And I said, well, actually the Buddha, in all the world wisdom traditions, he really was kind of a feminist. I mean, he created this female sangha when no one was open to doing that. That was amazing that he took that risk. Granted, it was his stepmother who raised him that really pursued with her, 400 or 500 women who really kept badgering for it. They really had to do it and advocate themselves, but he agreed to it. So that was very compelling. Of Tompani, of emptiness, I thought, wow, that's also like quantum physics. And they knew that without any big microscopes or big machines to smash particles. They really got into this idea of how much things are mostly space and how things really exist. So that was very compelling. And then, I was just really getting happier and feeling healthier in my life and really enjoying that I had made this connection. And so it slowly was growing. And I ended up coming back pretty regularly in the summers up to Ladakh to volunteer at the school, and started right away that first summer, took teachings with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama at Tashi Gatsel, where back in the day where there was really even no security, it was very intimate in a little stage. And I just thought, wow, you're really lucky. You should pay attention to what's going on in the world, but also pay attention to what's going on in your inner world. And so fast forward to about 2012, I just felt like I was at a point where I had to make a choice. Like I could have stayed in the US. I started that Maine Mindfulness Project. I was doing a lot of teaching there and in other parts of the US and some other places around the world. Or I really started to place mindfulness within the tradition of Buddhism, whereas I had come to it before as just like mindfulness for breathing and relaxation and present moment awareness. But I really started to think more about how it works in Buddhism and in the practice. And I thought, the goal of Buddhism is full enlightenment for the benefit of all mother beings, and not just to be relaxed and to get a little bit of peace of mind, although there's nothing wrong with that. And that slowly, that goal started to take over as a much more compelling use of this human life. And that's basically how I ended up in India in 2015 at some teachings at Tashi Lumpo. My teacher was the abbot of Tashi Lumpo, the Kempo there. And there were some big Pramanavartika teachings with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So I gave up my organic farm to the people I started it with in Maine, and decided to, after those teachings, come up to Dharamsala, to Tosamling. I'd gotten in touch with the abbess, with the wonderful Venerable Tenzin Sangmo, and said, look, here's my backstory. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm now 49, I've had this whole other life, but I'd really like a shot at ordination, because I've been studying for a long time. I know a little bit of Tibetan. And she said, yeah, we've got room for you, so come when you're ready. And then I still started slowly. I took Rabjung ordination, which is like novice. because I figured if it really is too difficult, how is it going to work out? You know, better to not take a big bite off at first and take a little one and see if I can chew it and digest it. And yeah, there were some hiccups for sure, a little indigestion, but within the next year, I then applied to the Office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and asked if I could take the next step of Gatsel. Luckily, Tushita had a wonderful pre-ordination course. So, you know, that was one thing I had always really been trained by my teacher, which I offer to everybody who's watching is, you know, sometimes in life we feel we want to jump really fast ahead, but it's better to go step by step, and especially on our sacred path, one foot after the other. And sometimes we have to pause and regain our balance and just let things kind of unfold, and we can find the right way we're supposed to be led. And so that's, you know, that's what I did. And then I ended up here in India and have kind of stayed in and out. I've gone other places to teach. I've gone back to Maine to visit every year. Now I'm here in lockdown because of COVID, which I have to be honest about has been a blessing in disguise for us as monastics, because we're doing our practices. We did, you know, 3-month meditation this summer, Rains Retreat. And so our practices go on as they are, but it's more like we can offer something really now to the whole world. Whereas if the world's really fine and going its own way, they kind of forget who we are, that we exist, but now they're looking for support and strength. So it's wonderful that the Tsunmas, the Geshe-Mas, the practitioners are here and can really offer the strength of their practice. So I'm very happy to be in very good company.
Thank you, Venerable. You know, for the good advice too. I'm sure that all our audience here are listening with their heart and will find that advice very useful. I have all these American university students who came to study in Taiwan with us, and I remember one of them went up to the mountains in a monastery to meditate, and immediately he wanted to become a monk, and that was, you know, like you said, not a very wise decision. Luckily, you know, he decided to take the step-by-step path, which really, like you said, is a, you know, a better choice.